In this video series, we are going to create these Instagram stories, and this looks exactly the same as the real one. And you can see each story has a ring, which is a gradient ring. And you can see there's a scroll buttons, but the scroll buttons only appeared when it starts scrolling for the left one, and when it scroll, it appears, and when it scroll to the end, it will disappear. And you can also see the text is truncated for the username. So let's start to build our project. To start building our project, we go to the terminal and type npx create next app, and also with the Tailwind CSS. And then we add our own name. We add IG stories. And then we type cd and then IG stories. And enter the folder, we type code dot to go to the VS Code. And then if we open the terminal, and then we type yarn dev to open the project. And now we can see a page like this. So we can delete all of these and create our own IG stories. So we go back to the project and go to the index page, and then we delete all of this. So instead we are using the div with the class name of hscreen, and this is from the Tailwind. The hscreen means the height is 100% viewport height, and then we type div.inset half. So this helps us to create all the things inside the center of the page. So for example, we type stories, and we forgot to, in order to make this work, we have to position this is relative, and the next thing is this is absolute. So we could move this relative to this parent. So we type absolute, and now we save it and back to the screen. Now we start adding the components. So we go to the root folders and add a folder called components. And inside the components, we create a new file called stories.js. And we just type RAFCE. And then we also add a JSON. We create the stories.json data to add some dummy data on it. And then we also create a story.js, and we use the RAFCE to create these components. And now we go to the stories.js and go to the top, and we import the stories from stories.json, and then add a div. We use stories.map and story, and then story, and we paste the key is equal to story.id. And I think we should have used the story.email, because if you look at the JSON, we do not have, or we also have the ID, so we can use story.id. And then we can use the image, which is story.avatar. And then we use username. And the username, we do not have a properties called username. Instead, we have the first name and last name. So we combine these to become the username. So this is story.firstname plus story.lastname. And then we go to the story and we destructure the image and also the username. You can see we have the image and also the username. So we back to the story.js, and inside this we add the image tag. And for the image tag, we pass the image file, and we have to add the class name. We set the height of 14 units and the width also 14 units. and then we use rounded foo, and then we add the paragraph, and we type username, and then we go to the index page, and then we import the story. Now you can see we haven't defined the story, so we have to back to the stories.js and import the story. Now you can see we already display the name, and you can see it do not display the picture, and this is because for the index.js there are styles that affect the styles, so we can delete this one first. Now you can see we have the image, the circled avatar, and also the username already displayed inside our website. We already create this image and also the username, and this time we want to make this horizontal, and we want to hide the scroll bar, although later you can see we can scroll the stories. So first we have to add two packages. One is the scroll behavior, and the other is the Tailwind scroll bar hide, so we can hide the scroll bar. So first we go to copy this command and go to here and type yarn add, and then we go to another package and also copy this and type yarn add. And now you can see in the config you have to copy this and paste to your Tailwind config. So we go to here and paste to here and go to this one and also copy this required. So now we already import this to Tailwind CSS package, and back to the stories.js we are going to add the class name equal to flex and with some space in between. So now if you look at this, we already make it vertical, and you can see the scroll bar already disappear because we add the scroll bar hide. The scroll smooth can be seen after you make the scroll functions. We add the padding 4 and also border gray, and you can see a little bit border gray color, and we have the background white, and we set the max width of XL, and we have the overflow of X scroll. So if you hide this scroll hide, you can see we have the scroll bar, but now we add back the scroll bar hide. Now we can see it do not have the scroll bar. So now we focus on adding a ring to our stories. So we back to the story.js. We already have a circle shape, and now we do not want the username is too long, so we have to truncate this. So in the paragraph we have to add the class name, which is equal to the text is extra small and the width is 16, and then we have the truncate. So now you can see the dot dot dot, and we can use the text center. Now it will center the username to the avatar. We created the stories like this, and now we are going to add the gradient range like this one. So we back to the project. We are going to use the div to wrap this image. So we use div dot bgwhite dot rounded through and dot p1, and then we place the image inside this div, and then we save it. Now you should see the paddings. The white colors already exist, but since the background color is also white, so you cannot see it. If we change to red and 500, now you can see this ring. Now we change this back to white color, and then we add another ring. So we have the class name is equal to bg gradient, and then to top right, and then from yellow 500, and then to red 600, and then we have a padding of 1.5 pixel, and then we add roundful, and then we save it. Now we can see this ring already exists, and you can see the ring is longer than it should be because the text is inside the div, so we have to paste it outside the div. But since we have to use one element only, so we use a fragment to wrap all of these things and save it. We use the div to wrap all of these things, and now you can see the rings already exist, and this is the gradient rings that we want to add to our stories. Now in this part we are going to add the scroll button, and we can find it inside the font awesome, and you can see this circle right button and also the circle left button. So we have to install this by using these two commands. So we copy this and then we paste to our terminal, and then we also copy this. Now in this part we are going to add the scroll button, and we can find it inside the font awesome, and you can see this circle right button and also the circle left button. So we have to install this by using these two commands. So we copy this and then we paste to our terminal, and then we also copy this and paste to the terminal, and then we're going to grab this import font awesome, and then we go to the stories, and then we paste to here, and then we import the two icons from the free-solid SVG icon, and it said we haven't installed the SVG core, so we have to add this, and then we use a div to wrap all the things because we are going to add these two buttons. So we cut this and paste at the bottom, and then we now use the font awesome, and then the size is equal to LG, and icon is equal to left, and color is equal to white. Now we should see the icons already exist, and you can see it at the bottom. So we have to position it by using a div to wrap all these buttons. Class name is equal to absolute and top 0, and we have the padding 4, and we have a width of 100% and height is 100%. So this meets the parent div, and we have the flags, so these two buttons will in a row, and we have justify between, so we have to push this to two end, and we have the exact index is equal to 10 units, so it has a higher order than these stories, and we also have the item center, so it will paste at the center of the stories, and now you can see it do not at the center of the stories because we have to make some adjustment on the parent div. We have to make this class name into relative, so we can use the top 0, so it will paste at the center, but you can see the button is on the right side at here rather than this one, because the parent div is 100% width, but this one is not, so we have to control the div width, so we have to use the width is max content. So now the buttons will become pasted at here, and now we also have to use the drop shadow to make some shadows on the buttons. So we go down to here, and for both of these icons we add the class name is equal to cursor pointer, so when mouse over it, it will become a finger, and then we use drop shadow of LG, and then we close the double quotes, and we have to add the filter on both of these icons. So we type filter. Now we can see it has the shadows, and when mouse over it, it will become a finger. In this part, we want to make the scroll buttons like this. At the beginning, it do not need to scroll to the left side, so it has to hide the scroll buttons. And then if we scroll to the right side, it appears again. So we can click on this and back to the first story. And if you push to the end, it will disappear. So now we are going to create this effect. And first of all, we have to create some state and reference. So we want to set the show left and show right state, and also we have to create the stories ref, and we have to import this from React. So we import the use ref and also the use state, and then we also need to pass the reference to this part. So we have to add ref is equal to stories ref. So what we have to determine is how can we know this is at the beginning, and how can we know that the user already scrolled to the end. So the first thing is we have to understand these variables or these properties, and you can see how can we know that we already scrolled to the end. So we have to check the scroll length is equal to the scroll width minus the client width, because what the user needs to scroll is this part. So in order to get the user's scroll length, we have to use the scroll left properties. So we go to the stories components and create a function called onScroll. And then the first part is if the stories ref.current.scroll left is greater than 0, then we have to set show left is equal to true, else we have to set show left is equal to false. In order to see the effect, we have to add the onScroll is equal to onScroll, and then we have to add the show left is double N. So now you can see the left icon already disappear. We can see the scroll right buttons will become on the left side because actually the scroll left button already disappear and do not occupy any space if we use this method. So this is not a good method to do this, so we have to delete this. Instead, we are going to use the visibility. So we change this to template literal, and then we set the condition at here, and then if this is show left and then this is visible, otherwise this is invisible. So we do the same at this part. We use the template literal at here, and then we copy this and paste to here. But this time we use show right. Now we can see the button disappear, but the scroll right button still on the right side. And now what we have to do is to use the button to wrap the icon, and then we add the functions on click, and then we set the stories ref.current.scroll left is equal to the stories ref.current.scroll left plus 300. So now if we click on this and scroll, and we should change this to minus because this is scroll left, So we copy this and paste to here. So we change this to plus, and then we close the button. Now, if we click on this, you can see it scroll to the right side and the button appear. And if we click this, it will disappear if it's already at the beginning. So there is one condition left, is we have to check if the scroll left already go to the end of the stories. So we already set the length actually is equal to the scroll width minus client width. So we are going to check if the stories.current.scroll left is equal to stories.current.scroll width minus stories.current.client width. Then we will set the show right to be false because it already at the end. Else we set the show left to be true. So we set show right to be true. Now we back to our website and we can check if we scroll to the end, the button will disappear. And if we scroll to the start, the left button will disappear, but the right button will appear again.